Hey everybody, welcome back to Today Talk. And today I want to talk to you guys about the idea of the flow of life, how life flows. And so, for instance, as you can see behind me, this little estuary creek thing, lake, is flowing in this direction. So, you can often relate this to life. So, life is often going to flow in a certain direction, whether you want it to go in that way or not. People often think life is a very kind of stop and go, linear type thing where like something happens and then something else happens and it's just random. And that life can be like that in certain instances. Something happens out of nowhere. But if you're looking at the bigger picture, you can often tell that life and just experiences in general often flow. They're flowing in a general direction whether we know where it's going or not. So this can be the experience of your life. This can be with the experience of who you are as a person, your emotional experiences, your thoughts and assumptions about what life is. Often people, and the reason I'm talking about this today is often people in life try to resist the flow of life rather than going with it and then using the flow of the life to kind of map themselves to go the direction that they think they should be going, which often life wants you to go that way because you can feel it inside you. Say, hey, I want to be this kind of person, or I want to do this. That's life telling you. That's the flow of life telling you, hey, I want you to go here and do this. But in many instances, especially in experiences that hurt and people that don't want to change or people that don't want to grow as people, they often resist that flow, those certain kinds of flow. So we often might, align ourselves with good experiences in life, but we might move away from something that might make us hurt or might even push us to change as a human being. And so this is often, people will find suffering in life. People will often face certain experiences that challenge them because they refuse to accept with it and move with it, but they resist it. So life wants people to go in a certain direction, and often most people will try to resist that flow. They resist that change that will lead them to the goal, but they refuse to recognize it because it might have pain or suffering in it. And people cause more suffering themselves and often will misdirect the flow and move away from where they should be going by resisting it. So I like to bring up this example, but imagine that life is a flowing river, flowing like I live in Tennessee, so I live near the Ocoee River. So this is this is like full of rapids, and it's a very violent, river that people would often whitewater raft on. So imagine you're whitewater rafting, and say that your raft just flipped over and you're floating downstream now. Well, what most people are doing in these scenarios, imagine life is that flowing river with all the gashes and the boom, the pa, and all these different things. Well, imagine most people, to try to save themselves or try to, do the things they want to do, is they turn upstream. So they're turning toward the current. So imagine instead of flowing down the current, they're facing it, and so they're getting distraught. They're getting water splashed in their face, and they're getting turned over. Well, while they're trying to save themselves, at the same time they're making the situation worse rather than going downstream. They're trying to move upstream to get to shore or get back to the raft or do whatever to change their circumstances. And so this is causing more suffering to them rather than using the flow of the river to find the way back to shore or find themselves back to safety. They're trying to move upstream against the current. That will just make the situation worse. So the most successful people in life are often the people that are moving downstream with the current. They're people using the flow rather than resisting it and facing up against it. They are in fighting it. They're using the current and they align themselves with it to flow downstream. So they might reach gashes and turns at certain points, but in the end, they're flowing in the direction they need to be going, that life wants them to go, and they'll reach shore, or they'll make it to the raft quicker than if they were trying to fight the stream. So, so this is what I'm kind of referring to. So, as I was saying, most people are trying to fight the current. They're trying to fight the flow of life and the direction life wants people to go to be successful. Life wants you to be successful. Now, it may hurt at certain points. People are, and this is, I'll make another video about this, about pains of life. People are going to feel, you're going to feel pain at certain points. But people often today do not want to feel pain because we live very comfortable lives, and for most of our history, we've had to be uncomfortable in order to survive, to eat, to to live day to day. We've become, as our society's grown and modernized, people have become much more comfortable. So it's easy to get yourself in a comfort zone and not challenge yourself to face certain fears or face or deal with pain. And so people often consider pain to be bad. Well, pain is a part of growing. Pain is growth. Now suffering is bad. Suffering can occur when you refuse to recognize that's part of yourself and refuse to recognize that pain and face it. And using the flow, the direction, So this is what I mean flow. Say if you have a feeling, hey, for example, hey, I might want to go whitewater rafting. And then another part says, oh, I'm that seems so scary. And that's your ego reacting. Well, that kind of seems scary. I don't know if I should do that. I mean, it's kind of nice and warm in my house. Why do that? But then but life often, or the self, you may call it, is telling, yeah, why don't you go whitewater rafting? Well, that can often be because, the ego is reacting to the situation rather than just going with the flow and listening to yourself, okay, and then listening to that positive assumption and then going with it and enjoying the situation. You're resisting it and you're creating this inner conflict. I like to call it the battle of the self, the battle of ideas, and this can often just lead to more suffering. Rather than just listening to the flow, listening to yourself and going out and facing the situation, no matter how challenging it might be, and having a great experience because of that. So, I've been rambling a little bit, but back to the main idea. So the way to be incredibly successful in life, the way to have an incredibly emotional health and to go after things you want to do, which is what most people want to do. They want to go after their dreams and do what they feel is right. Well, when you want to align yourself with the flow, you're wondering, well, okay, Jim, I understand you're saying life is flowing and all these different things. Well, how do you connect yourself? How do you flow with life? Well, as I was saying, stop resisting situations that you know you should be doing. Stop trying to face up against them and fight yourself and flow with it. Say if something happens, don't try to fight it and resist the outcome because of it. Begin to accept it and grow from it. Allow the current to guide you where you need to go. Allow the current of life just to flow you into the direction that it wants you to go. And then because of that, whether it has pain or whether you say, as I say, maybe say this is what they teach as I've gone whitewater rafting. Say they teach you to say you fall out of your raft and that they teach you, hey, just keep your legs up and flow. You may reach a ditch where you kind of whoosh and you kind of gully in and then push out, but in the end you'll reach yourself back to the raft and get to shore and get to safety, get to where you need to go. So so instead of being an idiot, where in whitewater rafting that seems very simplistic, most people know they should be facing upstream and fighting the current. All that's going to do is make you tumble over, but you're still going to go that way, even though you might somehow want to go upstream. You're still going to be going this direction, but it might just be causing you a lot more suffering. So, and this is another point, life is going to continuously push you in that direction that it wants you to go, and whether you're going to resist it or not. So whether you are resisting a certain situation, you're going to reach that point in a certain point of your life, whether you're accepting of it and moving towards it with the current, or you're fighting it and you're resisting the direction of life. Connect yourself with the flow. As I said, become accepting of situations. Accept what life has to offer. That can be external things. That can be internal experiences, internal emotional, like pain, for instance, internal emotional dialogue. And so this can be happiness or pain. This is learning to become accepting of both, accepting what life has to give you. What I'm saying is accept life, accept what life has to offer. Life is here to work for you, not against you. So when you're accepting the flow, you're beginning to realign with life, and you're beginning and often and this is what I've heard. I don't know if it's true or not, but people often that try to fight against life, they become incredibly stressed, incredibly frustrated. They're getting turned over, lopsided, and they because they somehow don't want to face the change that life wants to give them. So they might have cancer, they might develop diseases because of that, but because they're just so entrenched in not accepting what reality has to give them. They must fight it. And this will often cause internal stress. And this, as I say, will make the situation within your emotional world much worse. Rather than just maybe facing the pain of going through a certain experience that life wants you to go through, you just continuously resist it. And that just, all you're doing is making the situation worse. So my final advice here today is I challenge you to say if you're a person that often can find himself resisting life, I might challenge you in those moments, especially incredibly painful and challenging moments, to accept what life is trying to do for you. So listen to yourself. This is kind of life speaking to you. Begin to rely on yourself. And I'll make another video about this. Become incredibly self-trusting. Listen to what your body has to say. If it says, hey, maybe you should go do this, do it. You know, don't try to fight it, or don't even try to rationalize it or make excuses about it. Just go out there and do it. Push yourself to do new things every day. And when I say go with the flow, that doesn't mean you have to always be pushing yourself to do new things. That just means begin to listen to yourself. What does your body want you to do? If you want to go, like for me, this YouTube channel, I was inspired by life to make it because I learned all this great knowledge from so many different speakers and self-help gurus, that I was inspired. And so for a long time, I just been pushing it off. I was originally going to make a podcast, and who knows, I might make a podcast at some point. But finally, I sat myself down and I said, hey, Joe, just go ahead and make the damn channel, all right? You know, you don't have to post any videos yet, which I'm doing now. Just make the channel and get yourself started. Well, now look what I'm doing now. I'm flowing with it, and I'm making videos. Whether 10 people are watching or 10 million will watch, we'll see. I don't know. But at the moment, only 10 people are watching. But yeah, that's what I'm doing. I'm flowing, and hopefully I'll be going in the direction that I want to go, and I'm just flowing with life, and yeah, I'm accepting the journey, and maybe I'll find my way back to the raft or not. So I challenge everyone to flow with life. Listen to your inner flow and listen to the outer flow of life. Allow it to work for you, and trust me, everything will be for the best. Begin to become the person you were meant to be. So I thank you guys so much for this has been Today Talk, inspiring people to reach personal freedom. If you have any other questions, let me know. But I appreciate the support so far, and thank you guys so much for watching. Flow with life.